Hello and welcome to another video tutorial. This is part 3 of advanced tracking using the radar builders. Last time we left off where we set up the base tracker and the tracking lines for our 3D radar, and we used some of the cool functions of the radar system, and we also looked at optimization. So we're going to quickly do the same thing for the 2D radar. We're going to set up the optimization really quickly. So under the 3D radar foldout here, the enemy blip foldout here, we're going to go to optimization options and simply turn on pooling. That's all. And for rotation and scale, we're going to use scale by distance, and we're going to use a maximum scale of 0.25. Sorry, this should have been here. 0.25 and a minimum scale of 0.1. So it'll be scaled by distance, and we're using pooling. Let's check additional options. Always show the enemy in the radar. We're going to turn that on. And that covers that setting. Now we can go ahead and run the scene now, but there's something else we want to do. We're only tracking enemy objects in the scene, and that's not much fun. So the next thing that we're going to do here is I'm just going to grab both of these objects here. I'm going to Control D to duplicate them. Oops, I accidentally duplicated the radar. Don't want to do that. We're going to select these two objects here, and I'm going to rename them to lives. All right, we'll just duplicate this one. All right, now we have some live objects here. I'm going to rotate them. I'm just going to group rename them to life, and then I'm going to give them a tag of life. And of course, what this means is that if we want to track them, then we'll have to go into our radars, and we'll have to tell the radars that there's something else to track. So we're going to increase the number of blip types to 2. And this is in the 3D radar. We can do the same thing for the 2D radar and increase the number of blip types to 2. And of course, we just go through the same setup function here. So I'm going to speed up the video a little bit here, because it's going to be the same exact setup method that we did earlier on. All right, and then I'm just going to do the same thing for the 2D radar. All right, and there we go. What I can do now is that I can go ahead and just duplicate this. And now you can see that we have a whole lot of objects in our scene to track. All right, so I'm just going to go ahead and drag this back down here. And I'm just going to run the scene to make sure that all the settings that we just put in were okay. So I'm just going to run the scene. So we can see that our the blips representing the live objects here are a little too small. We're going to make those bigger, so I'm going to go down to live, scroll down and go to rotation and scale, and it looks like both our scale values. Let's increase the max value to about 0.5. Perfect. 0.5 and 0.2. Perfect. 0.5 and 0.2 will work well for this. All right, there we go. Let's check to see what our 3D radar is doing. This one seems to be doing just fine. As you can see here, the objects that are outside of the culling zone are still being shown in the radar because we've turned on always show. Let's do something really cool here. Let's grab this 3D radar. Let's go to designs, and remember I showed you the scene scale settings. Let's see what happens when we now see if we can get this thing to let go. When you increase that scene scale and we try to look at everything in the scene, or as much as we can. So we're going to increase that scene scale way up. And there we go. We can see that now we're looking at all of the objects in our scene that we're currently tracking. So we probably don't want to do that though. All right, and next we're going to just turn off always show for the 3D radar. Since we don't like the way we could reduce the scale, the minimum size of it. So we might as well just do that. So let's go to our enemy objects here. Let's go to rotation and scale, and let's change this to 0.03. That should make them quite small so that they don't look as annoying when they're not actually inside the tracking bounds. All right, there we go. Now, one more thing that we're going to want to do here is that we don't want to keep going to the scene each time. We want to check out our 3D radar. So let's put the 3D radar in a first person view. So we're going to put the 3D radar in screen space. And it's quite easy to do that. So I'm just going to click screen space. Okay, there we go. It's going to be in screen space now. All right, so I'm going to go to the designs area, and of course, under camera settings, you just need to drag in your render camera, and that's all. All right, now to run the scene, and we'll see our objects in screen space, our 3D radar in screen space, and we can begin moving around and working on the compass, because remember, all we did was just add the sprite. We haven't added the function to the compass yet. So we're going to go ahead and do that. All right. Oh, we didn't set the scale value for the 2D radar. Oh, I think we set our minimum scale. Yeah, we set the minimum scale value of the 3D radar's blips too small. So when they start moving further away, they're really tiny. So we're going to set that back to, let's go 0.05. Actually 0.1. Let's set it back to that, and we'll go to additional options. For now, we'll just turn off always show. And we'll do the same thing with live, additional options. Oh, that one was off all along. All right, good. Here, we'll just set this to 0.1. All right, perfect. All right, and the 2D radar now, we wanted to set the scale of the live to a larger value. I said this would want 0.5 and 0.2, I believe. All right, and that's fine. All right, now screen space. Let's go ahead and run the scene here. And we're just looking at our 3D radar in screen space, which is quite cool. Now, we can also just keep our 3D radar in world space and do environment simulations from it. And I'll show you an example of that where we track satellites orbiting a planet in an example scene. And then we'll look at a crazy example of where we take actual 3D radars and we turn them into blips. And we have those blips, which are radars tracking objects. All right, so in the next video, we'll take a look at working with the minimaps. So minimap for the 2D radar and minimaps for the 3D radar. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.